Good day everyone! We are the next group and we're going to tackle about gender issues and its corresponding laws. Gender issues are any issues or concern determined by gender-based differences between men and women. So gender issues, dito pumapasok kung ang both gender ba ay mayroong equal access and use sa ating resources at kung paano ba sila mag-react sa policies, interventions, and changes sa ating society. So, in our today's society, the gender extended at sobrang diverse na nito. Hindi na lang nakaklasify ang gender sa dalawa, kundi meron na ding LGBTQI+ community. So, paano nga ba monitor ang genders na ito na meron silang equal access sa ating resources? So, ang tumutulong makamonitor dito ay ang corresponding laws regarding gender. In our diverse gender nowadays, marami nang naipatupad na mga batas para maprotektahan ang ating sexual freedom. So, ito din ang nagmo-monitor kung meron ba tayong equal access sa ating resources at sa laws and policies.
Before we discuss different issues, let us first define what is gender-based violence. So, gender-based violence refers to harmful act directed at an individual based on their gender. It is a serious violation of human rights and a life-threatening health and protection issue. It shifts the focus from women as a victim to gender and an equal power relationship between men and women. There are 5 interrelated types of gender-based violence. The first one is physical violence. It refers to an act attempting to cause or resulting in pain or physical injuries. Examples are punching, burning, battering, sexual assault, forced abortion, and so on. Next is verbal violence. It is when someone repeatedly uses words to frighten or control someone, like name-calling, humiliating, threatening, and green jokes. The third one is sexual violence. It is any sexual act or attempt to obtain sexual act by violence. Examples are rape, forcing to do or watch a sexual act, forced unsafe sex, sexual harassment, and even prostitutions. The fourth one is psychological violence. It is intentional act against a person that result in physical, mental, spiritual, moral, and social harm. This may be done due to stalking, harassment, or damage to property, verbal abuse, and humiliation. Lastly is socio-economic violence, which is an act that causes economic harm to an individual. Some examples are taking away earnings of the victim, not allowing someone to have separate or independent income, exclusion for certain job, lower wage, lack of child support, and even dowry-related violence. The first issue is the violence against women and their children. According to Republic Act 9262 or the Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act of 2004, it is any threat, attempt, or actual act of physical, psychological, sexual, and economic violence against a woman by her current or former spouse or common law partner, sexual partner, or a person with whom she has or had dating relationship, regardless of any gender of the perpetrator. The inclusion of children in the title of the law emphasizes that children under the care of the woman are often used by the perpetrator to inflict psychological violence on her, whether or not the children were directly or indirectly harmed by the perpetrator. According to PNP 2019 data, the most gender-based violence case in the Philippines fall under violence against women and their children. In addition, current or former spouse or common law partners are the most common perpetrator of the Vawc. Among the ever-married women, 24% said that they experienced physical, emotional, or sexual violence from their spouse or partner. 15% say that they experienced this within the last 12 months preceding the survey. Among 40% of the women said that they sustained a physical injury from the violence. In line to this is the reported case of Vawc, where Lani, not her real name, experienced physical abuse that resulted in various physical injuries to her live-in partner John for almost 4 years. It's just one of those thousands of reported cases of Vawc in the Philippines.
Next is trafficking against person.
Trafficking against person within across the national borders by means of threat, use of force, or the other form like coercion, abduction, fraud, deception, abuse of power or a position, taking advantage of vulnerability of the person, or giving them a payment. The examples of trafficking against person. Law enforcement information indicate that the Philippines is one of the largest known sources of sexual exploitation of children, in which traffickers sexually exploit children individually or in a group through live internet broadcasts in exchange for compensation wired through a money transfer agency of an individual or by individual. The trafficker is usually the parent or the close relative who operate in private residences or in a small cyber cafe. In this place usually happen this kind of trafficking. Many childs are victims, boys and girls at younger than 12 years old. It identified this form of sex trafficking in Luzon in Visayas, included Iligan, Lapu-Lapu, Pampanga, Quezon City, Malabon, Pasig, Taguig, and Caloocan. Workplace harassment is all too common, and we know that. And we also know that it can ruin a job and turn a company into a toxic and unproductive environment. Often, harassment goes unreported, as a victim may be unsure of what qualifies as workplace harassment is and what to do when they experience it. Some examples of workplace harassment or the harassment in the workplace is bullying. And when we student, we experience this kind of harassment. In 1 in 3 young people in 30 countries said they have been a victim of online bullying, with 1 in 5 saying they skip school due to cyberbullying and violence. According to the new poll released by UNICEF, or the United Nations organization working for children's rights, violence against children in all forms, including online bullying or cyberbullying, has devastating effect in the physical and emotional well-being of young people. This can create lasting emotional and also psychological scars, even physical harm. It is particularly challenging to address since children are vulnerable and have the easy access to the internet, making them easy target of online violence. Gender harassment is one of the kind of bullying. Gender-based harassment is discriminatory behavior towards a person based on their gender. Negative gender stereotype about how men and women should or do act are often the center of the harassment.
Moreover, other issue regarding gender is marginalization.
So, I'm just going to give examples para mas maunawaan natin how genders are being addressed. Transgenders, cisgenders, non-binary individuals, and other gender identities, sila yung madalas na na-oppress ng people in power throughout the history. Kasi base sa kanila, mga gender na ito ay hindi acceptable sa society. Lalong-lalo na kasi sa pinaniniwalaan nilang gods. The next one is the gender stereotyping. The best example na mas makaka-relate ang mga millennials nowadays ay ito nga yung kapag ka naloko ka ng isang lalaki lang na ang tingin mo sa lahat ng lalaki ay manluloko na. That's gender stereotyping. Kung ano yung nakikita mo dahil ginawa ng isa sa'yo, yun na yung makikita mo as a whole, as a kabuuan ng buong gender na yon. Multiple burden. What is it? So, it is the involvement of three spheres of work, namely the productive, reproductive, community management, and governance. So, kapag ka umikot sa tatlong ito, ang ginagawa natin, because sa gender natin, magkakaroon tayo ng time sa karamihan at sa mga bagay na gagawin natin. Pero, wala tayong mabibigay na time para sa sarili natin. Di ba, self-time or me time ang pinakamahalagang time na dapat maibigay natin sa sarili natin. Pero kapag in-involve mo yung tatlong yun, includes productive, halimbawa nagkaroon ka na ng work, kailangan mong maging productive para kumayod ka ng kumayod at magkapera. Next one is the reproductive, halimbawa nagkaroon ka na agad ng anak or nagkaroon ka ng sakit sa iyong sexual na parte or sa iyong internal sexual abilities. At yung panghuli ay management in the community and governance. Kung na-include ka din dito, ibig sabihin yan, masyadong hectic ang magiging schedule mo at wala ka nang mabibigay na time para sa sarili mo. So, paano siya napasok sa gender issues? Madalas kasi kapag ang issue ay napupunta sa gender, madalas pumapasok dito na lalaki ako, kailangan ko magawa to. Babae ako, kailangan ko magawa to. Bakla ako, kung ano makikita sa akin ng mga tao, dapat mas galingan ko. Kung ano yung nape-perceive natin sa paligid natin, yun yung inilalabas natin, which is pangit nga lang yung epekto. Last one is the subordination. Subordination, matagal na siyang napapractice nung panahon pa lang ng sinauna, kung saan mas makapangyarihan daw ang mga lalaki kaysa sa babae, kasi ayon daw sa Bible, ang mga babae ay hinugot lamang sa tadyang ng lalaki ni Adan. So, nagkakaroon dito ng superiority sa gender na mas angat yung mga lalaki, kaya ang mga babae kailangan pagsilbihan lang ang mga lalaki. Kailangan ng mga babae ay sumunod lamang sa mga lalaki, which is na break na siya ngayon salamat sa pagboboses ng mga babae, at ngayon ay nagkakaroon na tayo ng unti-unting pantay na pagtingin sa babae at lalaki. So now, we're going to tackle about the laws regarding gender. The first one is the international law. So for the international laws and standards, Philippines has been a state party to the United Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women since 1981 and Convention on the Rights of Children since 1990. So, Philippines is active na sa pagpoprotekta ng rights and discrimination sa women and children. So, Philippines is also an active member of the ASEAN Commission on the Promotion and Protection of Rights of Women and Children established in 2010. So, priority talaga ng Philippines in terms of international laws and standards ang protection sa kababaihan at mga bata.
Furthermore, there are a lot of national laws and standards in the country that plays a vital role to eliminate gender discrimination and gender-based violence. The first one is the 1987 Philippines Constitution. It recognizes women's role in national building and their fundamental equality with men under the law that may be found in Article 2, Section 14. In addition, the Constitution also has specific provision promoting women's right to represent representation in Congress as well as protection of their health in Article 8, Section 11, and labor's right at Article 8, Section 14. The next is the Republic Act 9710 or the Magna Carta of Women. The Magna Carta of Women is comprehensive women's human right law that seeks to eliminate discrimination against women by recognizing, protecting, fulfilling, and promoting the rights of Filipino women, especially those in marginalized sector. The laws stipulate that priority be given to assist women against gender-based crime and help them attain justice and healing. This may be found in Chapter 9, Section 9 of the Magna Carta of Women. The third one is the Republic Act 9262 or the Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act of 2004. The issue in Vawc falls under this law because it is defined as the law that seeks to address a prevalence of violence against women and their children, or the Vawc, by their intimate partners. The perpetrator that proves as guilty may undergo imprisonment, pay a fine in the amount of not less than 100,000 pesos but not more than 300,000 pesos, as well as undergo mandatory psychological counseling or psychiatric treatment and shall report compliance to the court.
The RA 7610 or the Republic Act 7610. Special Protection of Children Against Abuse, Exploitation, and Discrimination Act. It is an act providing for stronger deterrence and special protections against child abuse, exploitation, and discrimination, providing penalty for its violation and other purposes. It is an act falls in the issue of human trafficking or trafficking against persons. RA 7877 or Republic Act 7877, Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995, an act declaring sexual harassment unlawful in the employment, education or training environment, and for other purposes. It is an act fall under the issue of harassment in the workplace or harassment.
This is the end of our discussion. To summarize, we discussed about gender-based violence, gender issues such as Vawc, human trafficking, gender harassment, marginalization, gender stereotyping, multiple burdens, and subordination. We also discussed international and national laws and standards that protect and promote gender equality. Thank you for listening. Goodbye and God bless.